And it's been fun being able to dream really big, right? I think my goal is at the moment, we're trying to grow into a way to exit to one of these major companies at the moment. And so our goal is to raise a couple, 25 million or so in our sales. That's where my goal is. And then for me, I'm good to exit there.
Dude, I gotta stop you. That was so fun to hear you try to say 25 million like it was this like, don't make fun of me for dreaming so big. This is really hard to actually say this number. Bro, it's possible, right? And
it is.
And letting yourself say 25 million and believe that you can do it is so crazy powerful. Like, it's not going to happen until you can say it, and then not just say it, but truly believe it.
Startups with Stu is a podcast for anyone living or wanting to live the startup life, either as a founder or a team member. Your host, Stuart Draper, was a 9-time Inc. 5000 honoree before age 40. This show dives deep into the exhilarating world of entrepreneurship with guests that are seeking advice from Stu for their startup or business owners that want to share their entrepreneurial journey. Listeners always walk away with actionable ideas of what to do to take their startup to the moon. Startup life can feel like a roller coaster ride. And with Startups with Stu, you're likely to turn your roller coaster ride into a rocket ship ride. Get ready to uncover the secrets to startup success from visionary founders and savvy investors who've transformed groundbreaking ideas into thriving ventures.
This episode is brought to you today by PodUp. PodUp.com is the leading all-in-one AI-powered podcasting software. If you've ever considered having a podcast, want to get started, go to podup.com and check it out. I produce my podcast, use a variety of tools and producers that help me get everything done that I'm doing. Podallies.com is the agency I choose. If you're interested in having a podcast, you don't want to do it yourself through podup.com, I highly recommend that you go check out podallies.com and schedule a strategy call with one of their production specialists. They will be able to help you and think through everything you need to before you get started on your journey as a podcaster. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another episode of Startups with Stu. This time, we're going to be talking to James Reber of Rebellion Sports. But before I get started, the goal of the show, Startups with Stu, is to help entrepreneurs. So if you like this episode, if you've been listening in on some of my other content, I hope you'll like, follow, share, subscribe, spread the good news with what I'm doing with Startups with Stu, because my goal is to help thousands of other people that were where I was 10 years ago become multimillionaires through their startups. I want to help them live the American dream. And that's what we're going to do today is I talk with Mr. James Reber. So James, welcome to the show.
Hi, Stu. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So glad to have you. So Rebellion Sports, where did this come from? How did you come up with the idea for it?
No, how we came up with Rebellion Sports, I played for one of the better rugby teams in the nation in Utah County. We were going to nationals that year. We actually lost to Highland. They're the famous team around here in Utah. But we were going to nationals that year, and my jersey had been ripped and sewn back together 3 different times. It looked awful. And I thought, man, there's got to be a better way. Fast forward a couple of years, when I was in college, I was looking for jerseys for the club team I was playing for. And I really didn't find anything that was easy to purchase, that was, high quality, that we wanted. And so right out of college, I started working for this company when I was doing some purchasing. And I thought, well, let me see if I can find some jerseys. And I kind of looked up in Alibaba, and I was like, hey, can I get you some jerseys? And through a lot of trial and error, a lot of terrible samples, we finally found a great manufacturer, a good partner to work with, and our brand was kind of born. We focused mainly on rugby for the first, X amount of years, but our customers started asking for, soccer was our first sport that we jumped into, and then football, and it just grew from there. We're doing all the major sports like soccer and football I mentioned, to jump rope and a CrossFit league that we're doing right now. So it's been a fun, growth ever since.
Awesome. So what has the growth trajectory kind of looked like from a numbers perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, we're still a small business, and it's always been kind of a part-time thing for number of years for me. There were times where the business just kept on running, even though I wasn't pushing it along. And then there were times where I was pushing and it wasn't moving. And I mean, recent things had changed in the last year and a half. And so we doubled down and brought on a little bit of some new ownership. And we've been, going ever since. We've been able to, first quarter this year, we were able to break our six figures. We did more this quarter than we did all of last year. And so we have some cool growth that we're heading towards.
Let's go. Good for you. So
thank you.
I love that you said in your story of the genesis of Rebellion Sports that you had that very common entrepreneur's moment of there's got to be a better way. Right. Yep. And then when you don't find one, you go, okay, then I'm going to go create it. And so good for you in doing so. But what you're creating so far, everything that you've described sounds like a great lifestyle business. And it sounds very much like something that does already exist in large part. I mean, you can go to a lot of websites and order sports apparel and uniforms, right?
Yeah, correct. So your Rebellion Sports focuses on custom jerseys and uniforms, anything on and off field apparel that a team would need. And you're right, Stu, there are lots of different competitors out there. When we started, there was less, but it's definitely grown. And so we've had to carve out our niche and to explain why we're the brand to go with. And through that, my biggest philosophy is quality and high customer service. There's been plenty of times where we put the customer first over the business just to, make sure that we're sticking to our philosophy. And it's paid off. We've, helped out customers in the past, and then out of the blue, a huge order will come in because of something that we did to help them out years before. Focusing on the customer, the ease of ordering, as well as high quality products.
Awesome. So as far as the long-term vision, are you all in now, or have you quit your day job, or is this still a part-time thing for you?
No, I'm all in. We've been doing that all in since last year or so. And so it's been about a year or so being all in, and it's been great. We've had some cool opportunities.
So as you've gone all in, as you said, okay, I'm jumping ship, I'm going to go do this full time. At first, it sounds like last year it was slow, but then this first quarter, it kind of ramped really fast, and you've done as much in Q1 as you did all of last year. So what happened? What sparked the fire?
Yeah. So, I mean, the end of last year was all about building. We were, fixing processes that I had never, had the chance to create, shoring up product lines, just a lot of things to build. I like the analogy of, when you're building a building, you're starting with the foundation as well as the roads. You're doing the horizontal building, right? That's a lot of stuff. It doesn't look like anything's happening. And so that's what we were doing the last 6 months of 24. And we're doing our vertical building now, which has been fun. Like I said, so Q1 has been a tremendous quarter for us. And we're looking for more growth.
Fantastic. So you mentioned getting started with rugby. I love the idea of starting in a very niche category like that. When you look at Under Armour, by the way, if you haven't watched Kevin Plank speak to the students at his alma mater, University of Maryland, telling the story of Under Armour, that is must-see TV, folks. But so James, I loved though that he started with hockey players and football players that needed something for under their shoulder pads better than just a cotton t-shirt, or in his case, when he was a kid, he wore a flannel button-up t-shirt because it was cold underneath his football uniform. And he's like, duh, there's got to be a better way. And yet Nike and Adidas, they weren't doing it. And so that was one area where he could really win. But I think in his case, he quickly went to work focused not on the custom stuff, but on a product that fit for the masses, right? It was something that everyone wished they had, but didn't within those two little categories of hockey and football players under their pads. In your case, you started with rugby as like at least from your career perspective. Is that the first kind of sport where you guys got your in and wins?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first business we actually started was called Rugby. And that's what the business I started back in 2016. And it was focused completely on rugby. We started growing. Utah has a really good rugby scene. A lot of amazing tournaments, great colleges. I mean, BYU is one of the best, teams in the nation for a long time. So really, really great rugby scene in Utah. And so we were able to early on partner with some great teams and influencers or people who are just deep into the rugby scene in Utah and grow our brand. And so we still keep that mindset today. So all of our products have that, triple stitching, reinforced areas, whether you're playing volleyball or rugby, right? Your jersey is fit for the pitch. And we love that quality. But yeah, focusing on that niche is where we were able to really grow and get our foothold and then slowly start expanding into the other areas.
So how did you go about finding better product and making better product? Textiles, not something that's very big as far as manufacturing in the US goes. Probably going to change with tariffs, which would be a fun topic for later. But as of right now, that's just simply not the case. So how did you go about that?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of trial and error, like I said. The first product that we got was I bought 50 rugby balls. I took, some cash that I had and I bought 50 rugby balls. I said, I'm going to sell these to teams. They came in, I got super excited. I pumped it up. I looked at it and it was spelled incorrectly. It said supposed to say training ball. It said tranning. And I said, oh no, I can't sell these. And so that was my first, quality control issue from the very get-go. They were not a good manufacturer, but we were able to kind of fix that. And the first account I even sold to, it was a Played Against Sports, and I sold 12 rugby balls for $72, and I still have that check to this day. It was one of my proudest moments making that. I was like, oh, this could actually work. Granted, that's not my customer now. It's kind of a different path we're going, but that's what started it and got that fire. Going back with that manufacturing, it really was just trial and error, trying to find somebody who wants to work with us, who is competent, great English, good products. There's a lot that goes into it. And we've slowly been able to fix it and to improve it over the years.
Okay. That is awesome. So it's when it went from selling balls first. That's where you decided and then you went, oh my gosh, I got my first sale. Isn't that such a cool moment? It's like,
the best.
I can do this. This is a real business. It's not just an idea. Like spiritually, it was born, emotionally and mentally. It was in my brain. I was going to do this. I was going to be a founder and sell something. And then when you actually do, you're like, oh my gosh, my baby's born.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's a weird feeling. I mean, it's an exciting feeling, but it's also kind of terrifying. You're like, oh wow, like there's so much potential. And so it was a great feeling. And I, hit up all of the Played Against Sports in Utah that I could. And I kept doing those guys bought some, do you want to buy some? And, we sold through those 50 and, bought some more and, realized, there was more demand for apparel. And so we switched over to, we offer, rugby balls. Our rugby balls are probably, some of the better ones you can get. We're really proud of that fact. But yeah, we do a lot of apparel sales.
So within the apparel business, it's one-off orders. How do you get people to repeat customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. And like I was saying earlier, the big focus of that customer-centric, creating a partnership is where we've been able to succeed, right? We'll work with a team, we'll work with a coach, work with a, team mom, whoever it is. and make the process easy for them. They're doing their day job, they're coaching, part-time. They're wearing so many hats that, trying to find a quality, apparel jersey manufacturer is kind of low on their list. So we take their ideas. We have a really good design team who will, create those designs. We're very transparent in our timelines, and just, nice, affordable pricing. And so with that, just that really customer-centric mindset we've had repeat customers. And so for the first couple of years, I stopped doing business development. I started with, emailing or, Googling, rugby clubs near me, and I would hit up the coach, and just a lot of mass emails. And, year 2, I just stopped doing it. And it just kept growing. Granted, I think if I had done more, then we would have gotten, growing faster. But where I was in life, we were still growing. And so, really focusing on creating that partnership with our customers.
Yeah. What James just described, folks, is, he kind of says it with maybe a little bit of like chagrin. It's like, we were getting on Google and looking for the rugby club and messaging and emailing. No, like that's literally growth stage. Businesses growing from 10 million to 100 million. They're still looking for the emails of their potential buyers, and they're still grinding and hustling to get in front of those people. And you have to find your way to get in front of the right people that want to buy your product. And one of the best still today, 2025, is email marketing. So glad to hear that's a part of your mix of things you're doing. Also glad to hear that you're getting repeat business from previous buyers, keeping that email list, reaching out and saying, hey, we're here for you. Don't forget about us for your next needs, for your next uniforms. Here's something else we're doing that a lot of coaches like from a bags perspective, whatever that looks like.
Right.
You can go and continue to grow that way as well. So you mentioned that you brought on a partner to help from a capital perspective, it sounds like. So talk to me about that.
When I started the business, I needed to buy some inventory. And so my father was my first partner. And just a small check to help buy some inventory. And he kind of, his involvement. He would come to a couple different tournaments with me. We'd sit at the booth, hopefully, waiting for customers to come, but a great first partner, very supportive. We recently changed some of our ownership, like I mentioned, transitioning him out and bringing in somebody else to help with it. Somebody else who's in the rugby scene, who's in more of the sports scene, who's able to, bring that passion and that fire. But yeah, my dad was a very good partner and very supportive right from the very get-go. And so it's a family business. I like saying that. But yeah, our current leadership team is great. And they're pushing the business along.
Cool. So how many team members do you have working on the business now?
Yeah, so we have our 3 owners, and then we have we kind of work with some contract manufacturers. We work with some contractors for sales and for marketing, design as well. And so we have a small team, about 6 individuals between sales and our marketing around the country, who are working in their local areas with their connections, and pushing Rebellion Sports forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's awesome. Finding those people that are going to push it forward is really key. We used to talk about, as we hired, asking ourselves, are we hiring the people that are going to take us to 10 times the size we are now? Or are we hiring the type of people that are going to keep our business the size it is now? You want to find those people that you bring to that you bring into the team that can really help you advance, right? Yeah. That's really important. And as someone who's in the sports business, you understand how powerful the right team members are. So don't forget how important that is.
No, I appreciate that reminder. And a funny story, I've got my MBA. I've done a lot of business, through undergrad and, the learning aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And so, key principles like, hiring hiring slow and firing fast. Like, oh, I can vet them myself. It's fine. That doesn't apply to me. And people say these things because they apply to all of us, right? You bringing on a couple of team members who were just ended up being, the not a good fit. And yeah. And so just remembering these principles of, you got to hire those who really will help the business push it forward, who can see that vision and can see, the potential. Yeah.
What was it like when you told the family, hey, I'm going to quit? Where were you working, by the way? And then like, what was it like quitting and saying, I'm going all in on this?
Yeah. And so actually my circumstances changed. I was working for a company that was acquired. And so I wasn't even planning to do it. It kind of, laid off, and a lot of the management team was let go. And so I was like, well, I can look for a job or I can work on my business. So I was like, let me work on my business. And I was kind of pushed that way. I don't know if I would have ever, I eventually would have, like, okay, I'm going all in on this. But it was kind of great that the universe gave me a little jump start. As bad as it is losing your job. But yeah, it was a great push into entrepreneurship full time, and and really doubling down on it.
Yes, I love stories like that. You were given a lemon and chose to make lemonade. There's a lot of stories of folks that get laid off, and that's why they start their business. I started getfoundfirst.com because I got laid off. I had stunk as a used car salesman. I stunk selling alarms in the summertime. And then I stunk again when it came time to sell. I shouldn't say this. The third time I didn't stink. I actually did pretty well selling property management software services. And then about 7-8 months into that job, they pulled us all in a room one day and said, hey, we ran out of funding and we thought investor money would come. It hasn't. And you're all free to go home because we don't have a way to pay you today for your last 2 weeks of work.
Oh, no.
And so I feel you when you say that it was like, the circumstances changed and it was like time to go. The nice thing was you were already side hustling. And I think a lot of people kind of mock the side hustle or say that, it's not right to side hustle while you're paid by someone else. And here's the truth of the matter is a side hustle in a lot of cases is like an insurance policy, as it was for you, James. Turns out that was like the best thing that you ever decided to do was start Rebellion Sports, right? Yeah. So you could go for that. So, James, as far as your family support, it sounds like your dad was supportive. Were there other family figures that were also helpful in cheering you on and saying, we believe in you, let's go for this?
Yeah, so my wife is my biggest support. We've been married 13 years. And so she's seen me, since day one, basically as a kid, to where I am now. And in the past, she wasn't as supportive. She's like, it's just a side project, whatever. It's, focus on your full-time job. That's what's really paying the bills. But the last couple of years, she said, your potential is being wasted. These guys are, you're making a lot of money for everybody else, but, let's start making more money for ourselves. And so, she was very supportive, which is, I couldn't have done it. I can't do it without my wife. So it's been great having her cheering me on and supportive. And then my two girls, they love coming to tournaments and like sitting in the booth. They're really cute, so it sells well. They wear jerseys to school all the time. I make custom jerseys for them with, animals on them and things like that. It's cute. So I have a good support team here. So it's been fun.
Okay. Taking a quick break from the episode. Sorry to interrupt, but I have to take a second and thank the great team at Pod Allies that helps me produce this podcast. Startups with Stu is not an easy undertaking. It takes a lot of work and team power to get this thing done. So the team I use for my podcast, podallies.com, go check them out if you are considering a podcast. If you've thought you have a dream for a show and you want to go make it happen, go to podallies.com and book a strategy call today. I promise you won't regret it. Speaking of the show or shows, let's get back to Startups with Stu in this episode. Forgive my interruption, but if you're interested, go check out podallies.com.
I can't think of a better motivator than a wife and kids, man,
Yeah.
to make sure you're doing your part to go and succeed and win. So congrats for having the courage and strength to go after this when your family supports you and believes in you. I bring this up because over and over again, when I've found that founders failed, they had a lot of struggles with their support system around them. And especially if you're married with kids, you need a spouse that's like ready to go to war with you, because there will be days where it feels like war. Have you had those days yet where you're like, I better go get a job?
Yes. Oh, several. There have been, lots of ups and downs. And I realize when people say that entrepreneurship is lonely, why I'm working 80 hours a week, because if I don't do it, it won't get done. Right? We have the team in place, but there's so many things along the way that it's like, okay, a small business, I have to do it. And, it's a humbling experience, but it's also exciting because it's my destiny that I'm taking into my own hands. And and so, for example, like there was one time, this was years in the past, but we had our biggest order was with this soccer team, and we somehow got the sizing chart mixed up. And so I got all of these coming in, and they were just way too small. Like they just did not fit. And so I rearranged it around. I'm like, okay, the big ones go to the little kids. And but all of my profit margin was just zapped fixing this mistake that I made. And I thought, man, what am I doing? Like, this is dumb. Like I did all this work for no money. I got to either stop this or do something else. And we've had a couple experiences like that along the way, but for me, I'm just kind of that person like, well, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so I've said, this is what I'm all in on. And that's what we're pushing.
Nice. Good for you sticking with it. I think the world of founders that are willing to just keep finding a way, even when those hard days and mistakes come. So as far as a vision for the future, what's the dream? Like, where do you want to get this thing to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was talking to somebody else about it. And it's been fun being able to dream really big, right? From, being the next, sports brand out there, right? Competing with a Gymshark or an Under Armour or a Nike, right? I think my goal is at the moment, we're trying to grow into a way to exit to one of these major companies at the moment. And so our goal is to raise a couple, 25 million or so in our sales. That's where my goal is. And then for me, I'm good to exit there. But
dude, I gotta stop you. That was so fun to hear you try to say 25 million like it was this like, don't make fun of me for dreaming so big. This is really hard to actually say this number. Bro, it's possible, right? And,
it is.
And letting yourself say 25 million and believe that you can do it is so crazy powerful. Like, it's not going to happen until you can say it, and then not just say it, but truly believe it, that you can go make that happen. So good for you. And it was fun to watch you like, oh, can I say it? And you did it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And still, I appreciate it. It, like I was saying, it's difficult to dream that big when we're in the weeds right now, right? I'm in the thick of it, just, making it work. And it's fun to imagine that, but also it's daunting. And so, just that encouragement, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you need the encouragement. Who do you have as mentors?
You know what? That's a great question. Anybody who's listening to the podcast who wants to be my mentor, reach out. I would love it. No, we don't have really anybody. There's a lot of people I look up to. A lot of people have helped us along the way, but nothing really. No one person that we're kind of leaning on, and so I learned from all over the place.
Fantastic. I think getting to come on a show like this can lead to some great mentorship. I'd love to save some time now for questions you have for me about, what you're going through right now, what's keeping you up at night right now. Let's talk through it. But before we do that, I'll share one of the best ways I've found mentorship in my own life is from books. And I, as a founder, was so busy that taking time to read got harder the bigger we got. So I would listen to a lot of audiobooks while I worked out, while I mowed the lawn, while I was on a flight, while I was in the car. Like, I just took as much time as I could to absorb as much as I could from the stories of others. 2 books that come to mind as recommendations for you, James. Yeah. Shoe Dog, the story of it's the memoir of Phil Knight. Have you read that one?
I have read that one. That's a great book. That was years ago. I need to read it again.
So good. It'd be a great one to go back to. And I think it might help you increase your vision beyond what you're currently aiming for. And then another one that was really, really impactful for me that I think fits well for you is the story of Under Armour. So that's not actually a book, but go check out that. I had another book in mind and now it's skipping my mind, James. So if it doesn't come back to me, I'll email it to you later. But
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But finding stories of founders that are in your space, like the Nike story, the story of Under Armour, those are really powerful. You can glean so much from hearing what they did to go and succeed.
Yeah. One of the companies I like is Gymshark as well. Really big in the UK, coming more into the US. And, just seeing that, at the very start, he was working, literally sewing the products himself. He was making it from day one and then going out and selling it and getting that customer feedback, really being involved in the product. And sometimes with the structure of manufacturing nowadays, it could, feel so removed from it. And so just that reminder for myself of, making sure that I continue, hands-on with all of the products, the improvements, being with the customers, understanding what they like, what they don't like, and then adjusting from there. So we stay, scrappy and competitive.
Yes. Good. I love it. So what's keeping you up right now? Like, what are the things you got to fix and do better, different in your business that you're like, man, this is the next thing I got to go work on?
Yeah. So I think you'd mentioned it earlier, but tariffs are a big one for us right now, especially with vast majority of apparel is manufactured overseas. And so those tariffs have been difficult. We've been able to pivot most of our manufacturing, but unless it's in your backyard, it's you can't really control a lot of the things that some politicians would do. And so that's something that's been, we're holding our breath trying to deal with. And hopefully in the near future, those will reside and come back to, I think, it's a little more normalcy. But yeah, that's a big headache for us right now.
So I like the idea of being aware, taking time to tune into enough news that the things that are going to or could impact your business so that you can make adjustments and be wise in that regard. Don't pay too much attention to the things that you can't control and focus on the things that you can control. So, okay, tariffs, I don't get to control what the politicians do or don't do, but I will get to control what I do with my own business. I can manufacture locally. I can buy a bunch of apparel in advance of the tariffs coming to pass. Like, there's things that you can do. And so it's good to know enough that you can go take action
Yeah.
And have you looked into that, like what it looks like to be manufacturing on your own?
This I haven't done it fully. We've looked a couple years ago of, getting some machinery and getting some things in, and the business at the time with the tariffs, it really didn't make any sense. But as things continue to stay the way that they are, it makes more and more sense to, get a big printer, put it in my garage, and to start producing it all, right here in house. But yeah, no, that's a good suggestion. That's something that we're seriously contemplating.
Okay, I've got a couple other suggestions for you, things to be thinking
Please.
about. Find the right finance person. You have an MBA. You can get pretty far and be pretty dangerous on your own with finances, but finding the right finance help so that it's always taken care of, and not just taken care of, but so that it gives you insights into things you need to do different in your business. That's the kind of finance person you want to look for in the longer run. And then as it relates to finances in your business, you need to let your business run as if you didn't run it anymore. Okay. And what that means is if you hired a CEO to run your business, that CEO is going to demand a salary. And if you miss payroll, how long is an effective CEO going to stay your CEO before they quit on you? Right? Maybe a paycheck, maybe two if you found like partner grade style CEO. But most of the time, if the business can't pay the CEO is going to quit. You're a founder, and so you have this innate ability to just keep going when it's hard and to literally like lose sleep at night going, okay, what else could I do to pay the bills because the business can't afford to pay me? But you have to get to this place, and soon, if you haven't already, where you shift out of, I pay myself well this month because the business did well this month, into the business pays me 60 grand a year right now. That's what it does. And that means I get 4,000 or what, 4,800, whatever. I don't know what it is per paycheck that you get, but there's an amount per pay period that the business needs to pay you as if you were an employee, and then let the business pay you a bonus later as it can. But as soon as the business can afford to have you as a salaried employee of the business, do it. It's totally game changer because it allows you and your family to know what to plan for and budget for. And the rest is exciting for celebrating. And you don't do it early and it's easy, by the way, to tell your wife and kids, like, this is what we're living on. And when a big deal comes through, you can celebrate the big deal, but you know that the business is still going to be using that to reinvest because right now you pay yourself 60 or whatever the number is that you can afford. You're what you have to live on. But what I would say is a lot of founders don't stay disciplined here. They underpay themselves too much. And then when it gets good, they overpay themselves and they don't reinvest because it's hard to be disciplined and not pay yourself a big old fat check because you just the business made a big old fat amount of money. But if you don't reinvest, you're never going to get to the 25 million. And so keep that in mind and do that. There's a great book in regards to this subject that I highly recommend for founders called Walk Away Wealthy by Mark Tepper. And it was instrumental in helping me grow my business to a place where eventually I could sell it. And it wasn't my dream or plan to build and sell Stu Kent. It wasn't my dream or plan to build and sell Get Found First. Eventually, that's what happened. That became the natural progression. It was the right thing to do for my investors and for my own family. But I didn't build for that out the gate. Looking back, I'm glad that I always was in a place of thinking, how does this business run without me? What's the next thing when you're a founder like you are, you've got 15 hats on your head. It's probably like, you're like, yeah, right. So it's like 50 hats on my head. You have to take each one of those off one at a time and trust someone else with it. And the finance one is a good one to take off, and for a lot of people fast. Even if you're good at finance, for founders, I don't think it's the right place for them to spend a lot of their time. And it's good to let someone else do that, because business development, going and getting more sales, is really what matters for a finance guy to go do their job or gal to go do their job for you. So,
right. No, that's great advice. And definitely looking into getting a solid finance person. That's one thing that I don't like having to deal with. There's parts of the business that I love doing that I would, probably want to do forever. And there's other parts that I just, I hate doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think it's really wise to get in with the associations, all sorts of things you can do from a partnership perspective, them email blasting that you're doing discounts on the team gets free hats when you buy your pants and jerseys for your baseball team through us, right? Or free belt and socks when you buy the pants, and you do offers that make the association go, wow, that'd be really cool to offer to everyone that's in our association.
Yeah.
So my kids are in Rocky Mountain School of Baseball, and they use Pro Look is kind of who they're in with. And I'm sure you're familiar with them down in Utah.
Yeah.
But those guys, they get in with a group where it's like there's always feed and flow of deals and uniform orders. So,
yeah, that's definitely who we're looking for, is the associations, coaches, even organizations who want to, increase or improve their swag. But, we focus on teams first. And so, yeah, those are great ways to keep them, involved and keep them, going as our partner.
Early bird specials and toying around with the different offers that go a long way is also a really fun part of building your startup that I think you can play around with and have some fun with. It's like, okay, socks aren't that expensive, belts aren't that expensive, and everyone's kind of annoyed that they have to go buy that separate from everything. And like parents are always talking to each other like, where do I get this? I got a different color of freaking pink than everyone else got for socks. Like, right. Those things come up. And if you solve for that, and it's like, hey, this is like a free extra that I do. It costs me $15, but I'm getting 160 per kid. Like, it's worth the $15 now to do this giveaway. So you can play around with things like that. But I think we underestimate the power of promotion, the right offers for our businesses. And it's one of those things where you can play around with it and change it so often. You can run them for a short window, see which ones hit, and then you can kind of make them like your thing eventually as well. So,
yeah, no, that's great advice. I mean, team pictures, if you have a bunch of guys, not wearing the right socks, different colors, different colored hat, it's a small thing. It stands out. It does not look as uniform. And so, offering those extras is, it's a great thing for the teams. Good advice.
Okay, I found one other book. This one, or I remembered the other book I was going to say earlier. This one is not in the apparel or sports business space, but Rework is a great book about bootstrapping that will give you thoughts and ideas around how to make sure that you're being wise with your dollars. You're in the bootstrap business. Like your type of business is not a very investable business, and you frankly don't want to give up a lot of your business. So that's good. You're in a good spot. But Rework is an outstanding book on the subject of building a business that doesn't need investor money. So check it out.
Great. Okay, I'm gonna check that one out.
I think it's Jason Fried or Fried. It's the guy that's the author of that. So there's some new mentors for you. I'm always here from you. I'm always available. Follow me on LinkedIn, folks. Whether it's James or anyone here listening, I'm happy to be a sounding board. You can shoot me a note on LinkedIn, and I will happily help out where I can. So,
yes.
Thanks for coming on the show today, James. I appreciate you being the next Startups with Stu success story. It'll be fun to watch you grow Rebellion Sports. Where do people find you online?
Yeah, rebellionsports.com, Rebellion Sports on social media as well. Hit us up. But Stu, thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope to come back on the podcast in another year or so, and we can talk about all the growth we've had.
Fantastic.
Hey, founders, entrepreneurs, investors, and other listeners of Startups with Stu. Thank you for listening to this episode today. As I mentioned at the beginning, as I mentioned in the middle, I want to take a second again at the end and say, if you haven't yet and you're considering a podcast, go check out podallies.com. They sure help me a lot with the show. And I am so grateful for all that they do to help me accomplish Startups with Stu and get it out to the world so we can help more founders and take your startup to the moon. Go check out podallies.com and podup.com if you're interested in podcasting at any level.
Thanks for joining me on Startups with Stu. We have big goals to help millions of entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to share it with someone else that needs to hear it, or leave a review. Remember, success is within reach for those who dare to dream big and take action. Until next time, keep pushing forward on your entrepreneurial journey.